market pretty quiet the last couple of days in terms of range. $290.70. Support. And this is really tight. And basically, for the last 2 trading days, the market has spent almost all of its time in an 80-cent range. Just 40 basis points. I think we've got the longest streak going in like 50 years for no up 1% or down 1% days. So, like I said yesterday, this is very similar to 2017. The VIX has settled into a slightly higher level than it was in 2017, but in a kind of stable range now. A little bit above 10, around 12, I think. And buyers continue to be in control. I would say if buyers step in right on the open today and we see consolidation above 291.60 in here for a little while, and then after 10 o'clock you see a break above 292, that would catch my attention for potential move back up. Remember, we're still working off the dividend on the SPYs, so even a move to 293 would be kind of the equivalent, taking us back up to the high. IWM, also very quiet, compressed. They actually went ex-dividend today, so even though it looks like it's down a little bit, it's technically up 40 cents right now. So, not sure the dividend, I guess, was 70 cents. $170, supports 169. So if sell pressure comes in again, we'd have to adjust our level down to around 168.5 for support on IWM. Resistance. Comes down to probably about 170.70, 170.80. Okay, KBH reported. So KBH on the daily was in a really tight range. So here's what it did. It gapped up at the beginning of the year, closed up at $38, the highest it's been. I think the highest it's been ever. The highest it was ever. Nope, I take that back. Into the financial crisis, it was 80. Eesh, the highest it's been since the financial crisis. And then they just trended it down for the rest of the year in this channel. And got really tight coming to earnings. I guess it's August. I'm not sure what caused this gap right here. But really tight on the daily, and then a gap up is a pretty good technical setup. So a lot of accumulation over the last few weeks coming into earnings. It gaps up. It would be interesting to see if it can kind of work its way back up to this area here. So the numbers were good. They guided up for next year. They actually said they have a little bit of a supply issue, right? Their demand is exceeding their supply. They should be able to ramp up for next year. Here's the initial reaction where it spiked almost to 27. On the pullback low was, it's a little severe, 26. Buyers started to step in here a little bit higher. Closed at the after hours high. Well, the first thing it's got to do, actually, if it's going to go up today, is take out this resistance from the after hours. The fact that they're selling it now at the after hours high Means that they could flush it back down to this area here. Let's just see. So that was the recent pivot high. That's right above 26. I have 25.80 to 26 on the sheet. So best case scenario would be a flush right on the open to 26. There's some bids there. They step up, and it quickly gets it back above 26.30 and starts to kind of grind its way. And then we'll see. I think there's a reasonably good chance it touches 27 at some point today. And we'll see how it closes. This would be kind of my ultimate target. This is a 2 ATR range from 26 to 27.5.
Mexico employment rate at 3.5% for August.
A spike on the open to 27, and quickly it starts to pull back down below 85 cents. The after hours high. I'd be careful about being long it.
Summer wool starting to unit.
All right, Nike. So Nike, last time we looked at it was on the Copernic ad campaign news. It had gapped down to $80. It was here.
Comments from Prime Minister May about world trade saying they need
so
to give
couldn't hold below
WTO
79, and then over the next couple of days, started to hold above $80, and then it was off to the races again.
Prime Minister May.
I think what we talked about when we talked about it last time was it was gapping down. It was in a strong uptrend. Could it hold this uptrend? And the answer is yes. And it's going to be the same question today. Can it hold this uptrend that has moved to higher prices? I guess 82 is the spot.
So what's been a Baxter VAX announcing an FDA approval of Altapor bone graft.
Okay, so initial reaction down 81. They caught a bid here at 82. Closed at the low here in the after hours, 80.75. Let's use 82 as inflection on the open. Comes in, holds, look for the up move. Comes in, flushes below, comes back up. They're selling here. Look for a retest. I'm kind of agnostic about it. All the analysts are positive on it. I still think it can maybe come in and test this after hours low, maybe even flush all the way down to 80. People would probably be tripping over themselves to buy it into $80. And then in terms of if it's strong off the open, what I'd want to see is a move on the open above 83. And then it could pull back to 83 or maybe even a little bit lower, maybe even as low as here. And then I would look for it to kind of go like that. So just be prepared for either one. It's I'll repeat this as we're getting into earnings season. So when you're preparing, earnings season's a few weeks away actually. When you're preparing these names pre-market, you're using the volume in the pre-market to develop levels. You're looking at the bigger picture and then narrowing the time frame, trying to understand how people are positioned, how it's acted recently to catalysts, and then you develop levels that it should move off of pretty well. And a lot of stocks, or most stocks, will just move off of those levels and never break out in trend. And if a stock very quickly powers through the levels on the sheet, right on the open in the first 20, 30 minutes, and then stays outside of the outermost support or outermost resistance, then that's a good candidate for trending. But otherwise, you're really looking for them to pop back and forth inside of these key levels. That's just the general way things work in short-term trading. The next one is ALDX. I debated whether or not to put this on the sheet because I thought it might be too thin, but it's already done almost 1 million shares in the pre-market. And so it has the potential to do at least a few million shares today. Good phase 2 data on the dry eye. This must have been another data release back here a year ago. They spiked it to 12. It came all the way back down to 6. So the question is this data, is it now closer to release the drug? Do people actually believe more now in it? I think 10 would be the most likely spot to see if it could hold. It's 12.5 right now, just above the high from last year. Wow. So it was up at 16. No one even tried to like support it until 13 and a half. I think, did I put on the sheet 14? Yeah. So this is a little bit similar to a setup that set up in AWSM Awesome the other day, where it topped out at a level, and then we used like the lower high, like the 16. And remember, it spiked on Awesome and went down, and then it did this, and then it ended up trending like that. So it's kind of similar to this. Maybe catches a bid right on the open. It spikes back up to this area here where it's a short, and you kind of see what happens. The other possibility is it's sell pressure right on the open. It starts to hold below 12, hold below 1150, comes all the way into this area here where I would expect to see some people buying it. It's going to be a big range. The ATR is 70 cents. It'll probably, I don't know, it could easily have a 4 or 5 ATR range today. So that's that. And then Cone did a secondary at $62. So this had gone up a lot. They priced the secondary 62, I think. Yes. But I really wanted to take advantage of this recent uptrend. You can see the pricing clearly wasn't going that great. So it sold off pretty hard from 68 to 64 and a half the last couple of days. And they priced it down here. But if you look at it on the daily, there's just a ton of accumulation here above 61, like 61.30s. So that kind of, I'm curious about that, how it behaves here. You know, do they continue to buy it here? Does it have a $1.50 bounce, like up to here? Or does it actually start to get below, and all of these people, not only the people who bought the last couple of weeks, get nervous, but all this accumulation from July into early August, do they get nervous and do they flush it? Maybe all the way down to $60. And then it'll catch a bid. But once those people get all flushed out, it'll catch a bid and work its way higher over the next week or something like that. So I'm prepared for either thing. Comes in here, people are willing to support it. They think it's worth these prices here. It's a good discount. Or the people get nervous, it flushes through, can't get back above 62, and then takes out the low. But either way, it's worth watching for that. Yesterday, SQ had a really solid up move. New all-time high. So it made about a 2 ATR move intraday. Obviously, the first thing that caught everyone's attention was the move above 90. Then it had this consolidation here at 92 for a while, which broke to the upside. And I've talked about this a million times, but anytime you're trying to get into a stock that's really strong or weak, look for really tight horizontal consolidations. And the thing about Square, which is great, is this is actually a pretty tight one, but then when it moves up here, it actually gets tighter. So this is like 50 cents by 70 cents. It's like a 20-cent range here. The tighter the consolidation, the more in control the people in the direction of the trend are. And had a $2 move from there. And then they just kind of supported for the final move. So looking at it, that's an extended move. It's actually gapping up this morning. Let's see. Yep. So it's really overextended actually now. So I would say that you might get one of these situations. Something like that. And then see if it kind of catches a bid. So that's just a big move. Somewhere in this area here. So I'm not saying that you should definitely short it, because obviously it's really strong, but it's a big move. And so I wouldn't want to be chasing it. Now, if it didn't come in this severely, and let's say it just came into 97 and spent like an hour kind of consolidating in this area here, and then started to curl back up, and then I might be interested. I wouldn't want to be chasing it up here. The natural thing, of course, is if people do chase it, is they try to push it to close to $100. That's, and then you'll get a $2 or $3 pullback. MU. So MU is probably coming off a little bit this morning with the LRCX downgrade. Let's just check back in. On the earnings day, it was up and down a lot. And then it caught a bid. Yesterday, the thing that was interesting to me is it went straight back down to where the buying started from the prior day. Consolidated, closed pretty strong. As long as it's holding this 44.20 to 44 area, I consider it being accumulated, making basically a higher low than where it bottomed out after the earnings announcement. And then it would need to just have a couple of closes above 45, then I would be targeting it to move back up to this area here. Yeah, so JBL was interesting, right? It tried to break down 3 or 4 times yesterday. It didn't break down. So this is, I guess, 27-ish was the long-term support, and then it was 26.50. So here was the second time I kind of tried to break. I actually then tried to bounce. It came down again, kind of came down again. Then finally, you can see the volume picked up and people stepped up and bought it. It really did what it needed to do, but so I'm looking at the last few times it's had really hard down moves. This is the really hard move there. It made a lower high the next day before it started moving up. I think, I think the play is if it fails to hold above 28 on the open or something like that, and then it gets below 27.90, maybe they'll roll it over and test the support area again. And then obviously if you catch that, you have an option to see if it breaks through and tests the next major support, which is 26.5. Facebook. So Facebook had really negative news yesterday, and basically the buyers that were there the prior day were there again. So that was, we talked about this a little bit in the morning meeting yesterday, which was, would any of these people who bought the prior day be nervous on the gap down? And we got our answer right on the open. No, it went right down to where they were buying it on the day before, and they bought it. We look at the 5-minute. I'll just give you a very quick trading lesson since it was the number one idea yesterday. So our first support was here, right? This was S1. Right on the open, people are buying it in front of S1 by about 30 cents in a very volatile stock, a stock that moves about $4 a day. Have an alert, at that level, after it has this dollar spike, have an alert down there to see what happens when it retests. When it retests, if it flushes through and within a few minutes is back above the morning low, buy a little bit, and then see if you can get a consolidation either really above the morning high. So that's what you got. You got a consolidation here. And at that point, you had to be a believer in moving up to our first resistance. I think this was our second resistance. It was pretty clean the rest of the day. So now again, from a bigger picture perspective, it's still consolidating in the low 160s. So the bigger play is going to be, does it actually move out of this consolidation and kind of have a clean break above 165 and work its way back up to 170, 172. Now, if this is the beginning of the bottom, it's going to move higher. It's the pullback from 2 days ago, 164.15. Yesterday, a pullback was 163.75. So it's somewhere between 163.80 and 164.20. You'd look for it to support and then break back to the upside.